This is big breaking emergency news. Biden just activated the National Guard, federalizing them in multiple different states to prepare for a big attack on the United States. All right, this is major emergency news, and this is in coordination with a lot of other big news that we are getting in the past few days as well. Right, there was a major NATO summit that's happening right now and has been happening the past 48 hours. Okay, there's also been a lot of movement geopolitically and around the world. The United States is sending F-16s to Ukraine and to the Eastern Front. All right, so there's a lot of things going on. We're going to dive into all of it really quick. Please hit it up for me down there to help get this warning out. Hit that like, hit that subscribe. I'm posting multiple videos a day, keeping you guys updated on all this big urgent news. All right, so let's get into all this. Biden just activated the National Guard in multiple states, federalized them to get ready for an attack on the U.S. All right, and I just mentioned how the U.S. is now sending F-16s, right up to the front lines. And we also just saw a major event in Alaska, right? A Chinese warship was spotted extremely close off the coast of Alaska by the U.S. Coast Guard, right? They are running drills and exercises and movements a lot in this area. Okay, and this was just spotted in the past 48 hours by the U.S. Coast Guard. China was also doing drills simulating attacks on U.S. bases inside of Japan. All right, this has all been happening the past few days. There's been a lot of activity, and this is kind of the backdrop for Biden now activating these powers and federalizing the National Guard. All right, so you can see here, this is actually multiple states. This is what's coming out. It says Virginia Guard Cyber Brigade validated for federal mobilizations. It says here the Virginia National Guard's 91st Cyber Brigade conducted CERTEX 24 to validate multiple units for Title 10 active duty federal mobilizations. The Virginia National Guard State Military Reservation hosted both exercises for the first time. Here's a quote. CERTEX 24 was a tremendous success with the validation of multiple cyber protection teams who are now ready for federal active duty mobilizations, said Colonel Rusty McGuire, commander of the 91st Cyber Brigade. Quote, we also validated SMR as a capable host installation for future cyber exercises, and the lessons learned this year will help improve the facilities for future use. Okay, so National Guard in multiple states have been federalized under Title 10 for active duty mobilizations relating to major cyber attacks on the U.S. All right, this is big. You can see here that 4 cyber protection teams were validated on mission essential tasks required to be ready for mobilization, in addition to validating Army cyber teams based in Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois, and the Rhode Island's Air National Guard 102nd Cyber Operations Squadron was also certified. All right, so that's a lot of states. Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, Rhode Island, and Virginia. All right, all just federally mobilized and authorized under active duty Title 10. This is big. This is what everyone was talking about 6 months ago with the border situation when they were saying, oh, Biden might federalize the National Guard. That's a Title 10 privilege, okay, activation. And it has now been activated for multiple different states. 8 different states are now under this Title 10 federal mobilization under the direct authority now of the U.S. president. All right, and you can see here, quote, this is what Colonel McGuire said, quote, "This is the first time we conducted a certification in a joint environment." Quote, "The leadership team for the 102nd consistently thanked us for allowing them to participate, and they provided their commander to help evaluate an Army cyber protection team." All right, so this is big. They're saying there's over 1,000 soldiers that were also in this exercise and got federally authorized to respond to events directly from the president. All right, so this is a major announcement. And when you put it into context with the other things going on in the world too, all right, F-16s being sent over, okay? We have Chinese warships miles off the coast of Alaska. They're also running simulation attacks for U.S. military bases in Japan, right? And the Japanese government has issued a warning for that, right? So things are escalating. A lot of times we don't see it because a lot of times it's in the background. That's just things we see too that are open source that we know about. There's also a lot of things going on that we don't even know about that are not open source like this. So you guys need to be getting ready and getting prepared because they could be getting ready for the big one. This could be a federalizing the National Guard in Title 10 is a big deal, right? Because it gives the president a lot of power over the National Guard. It essentially signs over these certain units to the governor. Still has power for things in its state, right? But it gives the president a lot of power to activate them and move them around to different states or focus on certain projects, certain events. It gives him a lot of power, and 8 different states have signed up for this, all right? So this could mean that they are getting ready and they have potentially some kind of preemptive knowledge of a big attack that is coming, all right? Or some kind of big events, some kind of black swan events that is coming. And we need to have the National Guard mobilized to be ready, all right? So have your tanks filled, have your water tanks, your gas tanks filled up, have your generator ready to go, tuned up, oil change the oil in your generator every 100 hours, 200 hours if you're feeling a little risky, all right? And they have war-gamed these scenarios inside the U.S., a major power outage or grid down scenario, a EMP event, right? Or even a cyber event like this could have similar effects. They've wargamed this and put out congressional reports. This was years ago. That approximately 90% of the U.S. population would not make it after the first year, right? That is what congressional reports and congressional studies openly warn of. 90%. And they were simulating a North Korean EMP. That's what the study was on, detonated over St. Louis. This came out years ago. I covered this years ago too. All right, and this could have similar effects because the supply chain would be completely disrupted and shut down. The gas pumps would not work. All right, there would be disruptions at every part of life. All right, everything depends on electricity. So if these systems go down, everything's going to go down, right? Look at people right now in Texas. There's still over 1 million people that do not have power in Texas. Insane, right? This was a week ago when the hurricane hit. Imagine just sitting in this brutal heat with no power for a week now, right? The only escape is to go sit in your car, and that's if you have gas for it, right? If your local gas station has gas, you might have to drive 30 minutes, an hour to actually get some gas, and hopefully you already have gas in your car to drive that far. And that's all it really takes. Okay, people make it very big, there are big things going on, like it's got to be this, the sky's falling, like bombs dropping, everything's blown to smithereens. Okay, it doesn't even have to be that. All that has to happen for chaos to ensue, society to fall apart, for it to hit the fan, is all you have to do is turn the water off. All you have to do is turn the power off. That's all you have to do. And it'll be chaos within days. Days. All right, especially if this was nationwide or affecting major parts of the U.S., tens of millions of people dealing with this. It would be devastating, right? And it would be a federal emergency, major emergency, and there'd be nowhere to go unless you already had your preps stocked up, ready to go. You already had your generator and you're conserving it, right? So, and if you've never actually conserved electricity, lived off grid on a generator or on batteries, solar, or just charging up your batteries, it's a different ballgame. It's a different ballgame, right? Because you're thinking about every little thing you turn on. You're thinking about, you're using energy. It costs a lot more too when you're running a generator. All right, when I was living off grid for 3 years almost in our RV, I was spending $400 or $500 a month just on gas for the generator, just to keep the power on, right? Because it was so expensive, and that was running the AC. I got little kids, so I have to keep it cool. Can't let it get super hot, all right? And just charging all this stuff, charging the computers, the phones, everything, lights, it goes by quick. Uses a ton of energy. It's not like just flipping the switch at home where it's cheap, or it's at least cheaper. You have to think about every little thing you're turning on, all right? And then you got to go dump gas into it too and keep it filled up, right? So it's just another ball game, especially water too. If you've ever lived out of water tanks, it's brutal. It's brutal. It goes by so quick. You do a bunch of dishes, you wash your dishes and wash your hands and flush the toilet a few times, a 200-gallon tank's gone. It's just gone, right? Shower one time, you take a 5-minute shower and you wash some dishes, it's over. Water's gone. You got to go fill up a giant water tank again, a 200-gallon water tank that most cars can't even carry, right? 200 gallons is 1,600 pounds, right? So it's a whole different ballgame when you're like rationing things and conserving things and trying to make things last, right? And I know a lot of you guys have already done that. You guys know more about that than me, right? But the average person, that's just living in one of these big cities, it's going to be a shocker. It's going to be shocking if they really have to deal with this, all right? Deal with a major blackout, a major black swan event. And there's a reason they're activating multiple different states for this. These 8 states specifically, kind of random states, right? So if you're in these states, be on the lookout, right? I guess they're kind of in a cluster, right? These are kind of states going from top to bottom, from the Midwest down, right? Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Illinois, and Rhode Island's in there too, and Virginia. So if you're in those states, be on the lookout. Be on high alert. because we could see some kind of attack, some kind of events in those states, right? And it's also one of those things too, you don't know how long it's going to be out. Like in Texas, they've been out a week. The grid providers, they can't even really tell them a lot of the times because they're overwhelmed. They haven't even assessed all the damage, so they probably have by now have a better outlook. But right away, they don't even know how many lines are down, how many transformers are blown, how many substations are destroyed. Right? They don't even know any of that. So it takes them days just to evaluate and figure out what they're going to do and see what they need. So a big event like this, right, it could be out for weeks, months, maybe. And we've seen these warnings before for these big cyber events that could wipe out the grid, wipe out infrastructure, utilities for potentially months, right? So thank you guys. Please hit it up for me down there to help get this warning out. I appreciate that. I hope you guys have big blessings for your life, your family, and I hope you have a big old blessed day.